Come.
Alright, for the next POI on our POI tier list, we are doing Grover High. It's a tier 5 POI. It's more recent. It's not brand new. It's been out for a couple years, I think, but it's more recent when it comes to like compared to other tier 5s. It's the first tier 5 school. I do wonder if they're ever gonna do a college campus. That would be kind of cool. Granted, that'd be so massive. It'd definitely need to be like a tier 6. But it is quite a large POI. But it's a POI that like you essentially run through like the different levels of the school. So you're gonna like start on one part, then zigzag your way through, then start on another part and zigzag your way through, as per usual. I'm trying to trigger them all right now because there's a lot of zombies up here, so be extra careful. They spawn from everywhere. With the new spawning mechanic especially, they are going to overrun you if you are not extra careful and like keeping an eye on them. Obviously I am level 300, so like you're gonna face I'm facing a lot harder zombies than you should, but it is a tier 5, so you will still face strong zombies like these, so just keep an eye out for them. The nice thing about this POI though is the roof fight that like happens in a lot of different tier 5s. You have a lot of movement, like you have so much freedom to run around. So you don't have to worry too much when it comes to like the space you have to train the zombies. Because usually like a lot of the tier 5s have like a lot of like, you know, they have a lot of like stuff in the way. I think it's like Dishong Tower is like kind of annoying because there's like all the stuff on the roof. Higashi I think is also a bit annoying when it comes to clearing out the roof. So this one's not like that. You actually have a lot of space to clear out. Oh shit. Okay, unless you're me who's an idiot and just can't aim. Which does happen. When it comes to zombie count, it is quite a few. So just keep that in mind. And since they have that like spawning mechanism, they're just gonna keep spawning for a little bit from the vents. Like this one just spawned over here, and this little vent over here, like right there in that hole. Like they're spawning on this. I think that is everything. So now there is a staircase right here. There's another door over there, but I believe it's locked, so you don't need to go through it yet. Yeah. Just come down the staircase. And this is where you start your zigging and zagging. You can actually see like an area with some loot. That door's locked though, so you can't go down that way. You're kind of just supposed to like enter the second floor now and start clearing out some of these offices or classrooms, sorry. So some of them have like pretty much nothing in it. Keep that in mind as you explore. Didn't realize there's a zombie behind me. A lot of these are gonna have very minor loot in them, if anything. Like you have like filing cabinets and desks. So if you're looking for like specific magazines, maybe, but there isn't gonna be too much. You do have a couple like lockers here that have potential for armor and stuff. But nothing too crazy. I am curious, hold on. Are these just plastic? Oh, it's metal and plastic. So if you want a plastic scrap, you could break down all these like school chairs. This is another area. There's some books right there. This is another area that does have a few zombies in it. So I would be a little careful. I usually bring them to like here. Granted that window's open, so they may try and break it. This kind of gives you a nice little bottleneck where you can just like, you know, pull out your shoddy, pull out your M60 and just spray them down a bit. So if you are looking for a bottleneck spot, that's a pretty okay one for this group. Another room over here, again, just like basic stuff, some more lockers. It's nothing too crazy yet. There is dogs. I strongly recommend that you don't really try and go through this because that exact reason. If you can, trigger all the zombies to spawn first. and they'll eventually start like crawling to you, and you can use this like outdoor, I guess like balcony or whatever, not balcony, but like overhang normally as a means to like fight most of the zombies, and it's really nice. They shouldn't come from behind you too often, unless you missed some in the previous room. But other than that, you should be fine. More lockers as per you. Ooh, hi. Sorry, don't do that, don't do that. Don't spit, don't spit, don't spit. More lockers. So, I mean, I guess you could try to scrap this stuff down for metal, but I don't think you get that much. You can't even use a wrench. Yeah, you get like no metal, so I don't recommend it. But hey, you do you. Couple bathrooms here, nothing crazy though loot-wise. It's obviously just bathrooms, so unless you want to like, you know, maybe get lucky and find a toilet gun. But I feel like if you're doing this, you don't really need toilet guns. There is vending machines here. For me, it does work. Sometimes they don't, so just keep that in mind. You're supposed to go down there, but I recommend clearing out this side first, because if you're doing this for a quest, there is going to be zombies in these rooms, unless they already got triggered. Oh, I think I already triggered them, luckily. Okay, I think shooting on the overhang triggered them, but if you don't trigger them, make sure you check, because that is zombies you need to kill. This double door right there is that locked one we saw on the roof earlier. You come over here. This area does have a decent group of zombies. So I suggest, you know, trying to kill one and bringing him over to the staircase where you can just do this. And have your way with them. Now, just a heads up, some of the zombies that are runners may be stuck behind the walking zombies. So just because you get like a decrease in zombie amount does not mean that you've killed most, if not all of them. It just means that there's some walkers that are fucking over the fast guys like these. I'm trying to be careful here because there's a little bit of loot over here. There's some bathrooms right here as well, and there's a zombie outside here. I'm gonna break this just so I don't have to deal with him yelling at me. Shut up. There's a little bit of loot over here with this construction box right here, as well as a large ammo pile. So if you need some quick ammo, decent spot for it. Other than that, sometimes this happened in a past update. I don't know if they patched it. Sometimes zombies get stuck in these vents and they don't drop. I think with the new update they may have fixed it, but if you're doing a quest, if they don't drop, just a heads up, it could be those. Another vending machine in here. For me, it was both food, sadly. If you had one of each, it would have been nice. So there's some caveats to like what kind of POI it is for you when it comes to vending machines, but there are multiple. We're in like a tight, close quarters area here. It's like towards the kitchen. This is the kitchen area with a few zombies. Oh my god, I am awful. Anyways. There is always like a Shamway sealed crate here and a med pile at that top part. I don't know if it's always a med pile, but there's always a sealed crate. This leads outside to where you started. Here's the ladder that you climbed up at the beginning. Pretty much most tier 5s, if they have a kitchen, just assume there's a Shamway crate in there or like a large food pile like this. I think every tier 5 has that, like has that large food pile and stuff, if it has a kitchen of some kind. Usually. There are probably a few exceptions, but like in general, keep an eye out for those areas because they're going to have large amounts. Oh, hi. Right out of the bathroom, I see. We are getting towards the end. Now this area doesn't have a lot of training capabilities, so be a little careful. It's part of the reason why I'm using the shotgun first, because I want to use my M60 as the last resort. Yeah, as you can see, there's not a whole lot of space to train, especially if you don't have parkour or, like, you know, running gun. I don't know what you are doing. Alright, cool. A few more. There's probably some vents that are spawning him right now, which is why they're, like it's a trickle of zombies. It wasn't, like, 60 all at once. Again, I don't know what that bow is doing, but he's, like, kind of lost. Let me reload. Yep, and there's more zombies in these rooms as well, so if you haven't triggered those yet, maybe it's a good idea to. You could theoretically even do this and like come over here and they'll like try and come through the traps. So like if you want to use these traps to your advantage and like get some free kills, you could. But obviously up to you. I'm not gonna like tell you how to play the game, but it is pretty easy. Get rid of that. Yeah, it's there's probably like a vent or two that is still spawning them since we're not killing them all at once. So maybe a minute till we get through all of them. Stop. If you are, yeah, see, they're dropping out of that ceiling you just saw. If you are using a shotgun like I am, you are gonna break a lot of blocks. So I recommend aim away from that. Try not to have your crosshair but over it, because you're gonna break it, and it's very annoying. Gonna run over here real quick, see if I can trigger any more. I don't see a whole lot of more. There's gonna be a couple, I think. Here's like a little teacher's lounge area in like the principal's office. There is a gun safe right there, or wall safe, I guess, with a medical pile, some general electronics, a filing cabinet, you know, the basics. This key opens up all the doors, like that door, for instance, which leads outside. There's an elevator right here. I don't see any loot in it. And then over here is like the library. So there's a lot of books. So if you're looking for like books for magazines, it is a decent area. Another classroom with like another filing cabinet and stuff. And then another classroom with another, you know, desk, potential bookcase. And then this door gets opened up by that key over there as well. So that's pretty much the entire POI. Once you press that key box in this office over here, like the front office, it opens up all the doors, you get access to the end loot, and you can just leave. It doesn't open up this one. I don't know why. I think it's supposed to. I think they just forgot about it. It's used. I'm typical to that. Typical for the fun pimps to maybe forget a thing or two. Anyways, that's it. This is the end loop for tier 5. What would I overall rate Grover High? Sorry, I'm not in debug mode. When it comes to like loot, it's not the greatest. I'd probably say like a C tier. I would say you shouldn't really be doing this POI unless it's the only one nearby, because it is one of the few that actually do spawn in a pine forest. Often, I guess is the right word. There's some that like are just less likely to spawn, like Area 7, like all of them. I think all tier 5s can, but like I always get this in a pine forest. Maybe I'm just like random and unlucky, but there isn't a whole lot of loot, and let's be honest, the only loot there is like that's actually any of value is the food in here with the large pile in the box, and then in here with the construction crate and the large ammo pile. Besides that, there isn't really any loot. So I wouldn't recommend, if you're coming here for like, you know, a lot of like guns and stuff, this isn't the best place to go. But it's a school. Well, it's an American school, so maybe it is a good place for guns. I don't know, but overall, there isn't a ton of loot. So I'd probably give it a C tier. When it comes to resources, it's like very hit or miss. So there is this plot over here, by the way, with the duffel bag, if you care. But there are like select places that give you a ton of resources. Like there's obviously all the leather chairs and all the school chairs. So if you need like 1,000,000 scrap polymer, especially with the new strength junk miner perk, you could actually get like a lot of resources from this. In fact, let's just really quickly try it. Wait, that doesn't break it? Is it the axe that's supposed to break it? There we go. So I get about 4 scrap polymer per hit. 4 to 5, it looks like. Yeah, 4 to 5. So essentially what that means is you're going to average, let's say 4 per. You're going to average 8 scrap polymer. What did I press? What is this? What did I do? Anyways, you're going to average 4 to 5 scrap polymer per, I don't use creative. What is this? Help. What the fuck did I just do? Just look away from it. Anyways, so you're about to average like 8 scrap polymer per chair, and there's obviously like 8 classrooms, 9, 10 classrooms. So you're gonna get like close to probably 1,000 scrap polymers, right? Because if there's like 15 chairs per, maybe roughly 15 to 20. So we'll say 15. 15 times like 8 is 120. So 120 chairs total. 120 times 8 is about 960. So probably close to 1,000, roughly, give or take. So that's a lot of scrap polymer. There's also a bunch of cars. That one doesn't count, but these do. And the cool thing about these cars, all of these cars over here, is when you click start on the quest, it'll reset all the cars. So what you can do is get this for a quest, come here with the hacker's candy, clear it out before the quest, then pop the hacker's candy, break all of the cars. I don't know if the hacker's candy applies to scrap polymer, probably doesn't. But then you can break all the scrap polymer for your 1,000 scrap polymer, and then you can come back to the quest, start the quest, and break all the cars again. I would do that for the cars. I've never needed that much scrap polymer, so you probably don't need to do it for that. This is also one of the select, like, rooftops. I guess there is some, like, AC units here, but I think, and I'm going to check right now, I'm pretty sure each of these counts as 1. Yeah, so, like, these doubles are only 1, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's only 12 of those AC units, or, like, air conditioners. And then there's, like, you know, maybe a fuse box or 2 as you fly around. So there isn't gonna be a ton of, like, resources outside of, like, the initial cars and, like, maybe the scrap polymers. Unless you really want to, like, grind for it. I mean, there's obviously all the, like, chairs and computers, so maybe you can go for all those for the electrical parts. I've been talking a lot just for resources. I'm gonna say B tier. I think it's very spread, well, we'll say low A. I think for the cars, it kind of makes up for it, because, like, this is more cars than, like, most of the parking garages in this game. So there's a lot of chances for engines, a lot of chances for car batteries, and then with the computers, the mechanical chairs, and then the school chairs, you have a lot of chances for scrap polymer, mechanical parts, and leather. So, I mean, you have a decent setup here for resources. I'll give it a low A tier. Creativity, I'd say A tier. I mean, like, it's the only tier 5 high school. There's, like, 2 tier 4s. Well, there's 1 tier 4, and then there's Favelas Academy. I don't know if that's a high school or if that's, like a gifted school, because it's called an academy. Maybe it's like a private high school versus the other one. I don't know. Regardless, this is the only tier 5 high school. It's a very large, small for a tier 5, but, like, obviously large for a school. But it's cool. I kind of like it. I like the layout. I like how you run through, like, a lot of the classrooms to clear it out, and then you eventually get down to the main, like, office area where there's all the stuff. It's also really easy to loot gank if you have a pickaxe. You can just break one of these doors, get in, steal it all, and leave. So I'll give it an A tier for creativity. I do like it. I think it's a very interesting POI, and it's also not that bad to clear. I think it's kind of fun. Horde base potential. This actually might be one of the few tier 5s that I could give, like, an A tier for horde base. Because it's not so big that, like, it's annoying. There's plenty of places, like, you could make this the fighting position right here. You just break this section out, and you have a perfect fighting position right here. Just build the ramp down, and boom. You make your fighting position here. You can have a turret here and here, and the balcony's already set up. Just break, like, this part here, just that way they fall down to the ground, not get stuck on it. And you're good. And you just have to go to each of the staircases and break it. This is where it's going to be annoying as fuck, though. You're going to have to break these staircases, and they're probably concrete, yes? Yeah, they're each 5k health. So if you have dynamite, you're probably just going to have to, like, dynamite this. Otherwise, you're going to have to break, like, 30k health for this, because you have to break this one and this one. Then you have to break the next one. And then you also have to break the underside corner pieces, I believe. Yeah, there should be, like, a corner piece right here that you also have to break. So that's at minimum 6 blocks that are 5k each. I'd say closer to 8, because there's 2 more undersides for these. So I'd say 8 total. That's a lot of health to break. And you have to do it, I think, twice. I think there's a second staircase. Yeah, you have to do it for the staircase as well. So there's 2 staircases that you have to break like that. Oh, medpod right there. 2 staircases that you have to break like that. And that's like 80k health each. After you do that, if you really want to, it's just the ladder. So I'm going to give it like an A tier for horde base. Not S. A tier because you can just make this the fighting position. You could also make 2 if you really wanted to, like, and then you also can just take over like one of the classrooms. Like you can just knock out this wall here and boom, there's your crafting base. Or you just come over to like, not over there. Or you can just make like this your crafting base, I guess, if you really wanted to. But there's a lot of ways you can like, I think, do a pretty good job with it. So I'm gonna give it A tier. I think there's a lot of creativity you could have. And it's a tier 5, which means that during Horde Night, all the bags that land down there will be impacted by that tier 5 loot bonus. So it can be a really good Horde base. You're just gonna have to use your pickaxe a lot. Well, not a lot, for the 2 staircases. So it's definitely not like a day 7 Horde base. It's like, oh, I'm in the wasteland, I'm fully kitted, and I want to make my final Horde base. We're going to do it at Grover High. And then you're setting it up, using your auger to break all of it, use dynamite to break the staircases. Because in return, you have 2 vending machines, right? You have this one, and then you have the one towards the kitchen over here. Right here. And if you get one that's a drink, and then get one that's a food, that's even better. Because then you obviously get, like, 1 food and 1 drink vending machine. And that's really nice. So overall, give Horde base an A tier. Overall rating, I would give this, I think, a solid B tier. I think the lack of like resources really makes me not want to come here. Or sorry, not resources. The lack of loot makes me really not want to clear this out. And I personally, although I gave it A tier for Horde base potential, I'm not a huge fan of creating Horde bases from this. I'm trying to like rate this so people who want to, you know, who want an objective opinion, not just like things I do and don't like. I'm just not a huge fan of like creating Horde bases out tier 5s because it takes away a quest place, especially when it comes to like these that you have to break a ton of stairs. But if you're willing to put in the work, it's good. But I think it's overall a B tier. I would like to see a little bit more loot sprinkled about, because you basically have a large ammo pile. That's pretty much it, because a construction box isn't going to give you a whole lot of loot. And then for the food stuff, like, let's be honest, guys. If you're doing a tier 5, do you really need a Shamway Foods box and a large food pile? Cool. You have food for, like, half a day. You're welcome. Like, it's just not. Like, it's not something you need, you know? It's kind of like a better version of, like, apartment complexes in this game, because there actually is some stuff you could use, but you just don't get a whole lot of loot. And like outside of doing this for like the quest reset for the cars, I just don't see much of a reason to like, you know, I whiffed. I just don't see much of a reason to like want to clear this out unless like, you know, it's your like first tier 5 and you don't have a choice. So like that's why it's B tier. It's a good like first tier 5 if you just unlock tier 5s. But in my opinion, is not like a tier 5 that like end game I'm gonna be clearing out. I usually don't. I usually clear out like Area 7s, Carrera Rockworks, you know, a lot of the other like really interesting tier 5s. Even like where is it? US Army Post 7 is really good as well. Those are the tier 5s that I clear out. Dishong Tower. I'm not exactly a huge fan of Grover High for a tier 5. So overall, well, it's not bad though, so that's why I'm putting in B tier. So overall, Grover High is a B tier.